Welcome to Gone Outdoors. Kyle Agre and Scott Brewer of Brewer Agre Outdoors. Talking hunting, talking fishing, and talking anything you can do outdoors. Right here on Kello News Talk 1320, 107.9 FM, and KWSN 1230 AM, 98.1 FM, both out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the mighty 790 KFGO Fargo, 104.7 FM. Today's Gone Outdoors is brought to you by Ray's Sport and Marine, your local Lund Boats and Bennington pontoon dealer in Moorhead. RaysMarineMoorhead.com. Adventure RV across from the Fairgrounds Inn, West Fargo, your number one RV dealer in the FM area. AdventureRVSales.com. Devil's Lake Tourism. Looking for wide open spaces, amazing fishing, and a refreshing escape? Discover Devil's Lake, where adventure, relaxation, and North Dakota hospitality come together. Plan your stay at devilslakend.com. The Outdoor Adventure Foundation. For over 17 years, the foundation has created life-changing outdoor adventures for youth facing life-threatening illness, injured veterans, and first responders. Learn more at outdooradventurefoundation.org. Strand Ace Hardware, Barnesville and downtown Pelican Rapids, proudly family-owned for 70 years. Valley Truck Gear, protecting your equipment. The Outdoorsman, and Onyx Fish Midwest, cast beyond the familiar. And wishing you a fantastic Memorial Day holiday weekend. We've got Memorial Day coming up here in 2 days. A long weekend, the unofficial, official start of summer, Scott. And it's kind of fun to be back in summertime with the summer weather, lake time, out on the water, and enjoying one of the more beautiful seasons that our part of the world has to offer.
Yes, summer is definitely here. It is now warming up. The wind we still have our spring wind. I heard Tom on the radio the other day, and he was talking about every year come springtime, everybody says, this has got to be the windiest spring ever. Well, they're not getting any windier. It's just we kind of forget about how windy it can be. And this season, the spring season, it's generally really windy. So it may not be the windiest ever, but as we get in the summer, the winds will tone down a little bit, which will be good. Or at least it'll seem like it, because wind when it's 50 degrees is a heck of a lot colder than wind when it's 80 degrees.
We're talking about wind. We're not talking about wind chill, and that is a definite plus this time of the year. And yeah, one thing you can count on up here on the Great Plains is that if it's a day that ends in Y, there's a good chance it's going to be windy, and that's okay. We can handle it, and we know there's a lot of really good days to come. So we kind of buck up and deal with it, I guess, is the way we look at it, and be thankful and fortunate that we have the opportunity to get outside and do some stuff here in some pretty nice weather. And, it's fun. Kids are getting out of school. School years are coming to an end. We're not going to be confined as much in terms of family vacations and time at the lake, time at the cabin, time at the camper or the resort. We're going to see a lot more of that every single day of the week now as we move into this summertime. And we appreciate you tuning in to Gone Outdoors, as you do each and every week here as we talk everything outdoors. And it's always fun to see the change of the seasons, and it's always fun having you listening in and joining us, learning from some amazing guests that we get to have on the show.
All right, Kyle, we should also throw out a congratulations to all of our listeners who are graduating from high school, graduating from college, or if their kids are graduating and you're throwing a big party, whatever it is, congratulations. But then after that, then it's time to get out to the lakes or get outdoors or get out to your garden or go work in your yard, whatever your outdoor passion is. Get out and do it, because like you had said, summer is here now. And we only get so many weekends before summer is over.
Well, and I tell you what, you're right. And just the little taste we had last weekend, Scott, where we were able to help out at the Shields Backyard Bash. And I'll tell you what, it's always a treat when I get to eat some of your fresh fried fish, and you did that for the folks that came to that event. You cooked up a whole bunch of different flavors. Catch and cook coatings is kind of what we were giving samples of. You did fresh fish, you did onion rings, you did some chicken on the grill. It's also outdoor cooking season as we look ahead to where we're at on the calendar.
It certainly is. And I actually continued some of that throughout the weekend because a buddy of mine, Jim Dahlstrom from our camper area, he gifted me a handful of suckers that he had gotten from the lake. And it's the first time I've done anything with suckers. So I smoked them and they turned out very, very good. I'm going to go to the Brewer and Kyle Agre website and I'm going to pull up the dip recipe and I'm going to make a bunch of dip out of it for other friends. But it's really good smoked or pickled. So if you get a chance and you want to take something from nature that you can use, go out, net some suckers because they're just finishing up their spawning. They spawn right around 50 degrees. Some of the lakes are above that a little bit now. I got to believe a lot of them right now this weekend are probably up mid 50s. But if you see any suckers spawning, go ahead, throw a dip net down and you can get a couple and you can get some fresh smoked fish.
Now, these are white suckers, right? Or are they red horse suckers? I think they're white suckers. Correct. That are common in our lakes. And you showed me the video before we went on air, Scott, and they were basically swimming right at your toes, right as you stood on the shoreline and on the beach. As rough fish, they're something that we can legally take. Is that correct?
That is correct. I believe you can take 30 by angling or 50, or is it 50 by angling or 30 by dip nets? One of those two. The regulations are a little bit different and they're working on dropping them down a little bit more by 2027. So make sure if you want to take a lot of them, make sure you read the rule book. But yeah, right now they're easy to get. After the spawn, they're going to head back out to deeper water because they're very difficult to try and catch hook and line.
Yeah, and as they move out to deeper water, keep track of where they're going because where they are, typically the biggest pike, if you have muskies, the biggest muskies and the biggest walleyes won't be too far behind because they like to eat them as much as we do. And so they're definitely a good food source for those predators as well. Hey, Scott, we have a fantastic lineup. We got some great guests lined up for this Memorial Day weekend edition of Gone Outdoors. Nick Kludt of Red River Fisheries, the Minnesota DNR. He's a Red River Fisheries specialist. We talked to him a year or so ago about catfish in the Red River. We're going to talk a little tributaries now and some of the opportunities that those tributaries of the Red River have to offer. We'll talk to Brad Maczkowicz. He's one of our high school fishing coaches within the Lake Agassiz High School Fishing League. And as we are right now in the midst of a very, very busy weekend on our boat ramps and on our lakes, we're going to talk a little bit of courtesy, sportsmanship, and how we treat those who are also enjoying our natural resources. And finally today, we'll wrap up with Bob Downey. He's a Elite Series BASS tournament angler. He recently had a really good showing down in South Carolina. We're going to hear all about it from Bob himself. Stick around. We got to take a quick break now, but we'll be back with more Gone Outdoors. Onyx Fish Midwest, covering 11 states on both iOS and Android. All your fishing information is one click away. Searching for new destinations by species, abundance, or trophy potential, it's all at your fingertips, including access points and shoreline ownership.
You get confused by special lake regulations? They're all on Onyx Fish Midwest. Real-time weather for your exact location, aerial imagery, and waypoint management, all right to your mobile device. Use code BA Outdoors to get 20% off your subscription at onyxmaps.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Gone Outdoor Radio. You're listening on Kello News Talk or KWSN in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or the mighty 790 in Fargo, Moorhead. Scotty Brewer, Kyle Agre, Brewer and Kyle Outdoors. And on this segment, we are going to chat with Nick Kludt. We've had Nick on before. He is a Red River Fisheries specialist. He's a biologist for Minnesota DNR. Nick, welcome back to Gone Outdoors.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
So, last time we talked about the Red River, and there's a lot of anglers that just fish the Red River, but I think there's just as many, if not more, that fish the tributaries. So, let's talk a little bit about the tributaries and how do anglers find out where to go on these tributaries?
Well, that is a great question. The first thing I'd direct you to is our online resource. On the DNR webpage, which would be dnr.state.mn.u, we have an entire fisheries section, and under there, you're going to find the Red River page. And on that page, there's three main parts. The first part is going to concentrate just purely on the fish and the fishing. So that's all of our research, it's our survey reports, all of that traditional stuff. Then we've got an entire segment that's about all of the great access opportunities on the Red, on the water trails that feed into the Red if you want to get away from the crowds, the shore fishing opportunities we have. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, we have the river gauge data linked on that web page. And this is really critical if you want to have a great day on the water out fishing both the Red and the Red's tributaries, because, if you're seeing a lot of change in that hydrograph with, falling water, that sort of thing, it's going to be a little tougher day of fishing. But if you have steady conditions, or if it's been raining and you see the rivers starting to rise a little bit, boy, those can be some really great times to get out on the water. And we've got all that packaged up pretty nice for you on that web page. So again, that's on the DNR web page. Go to the fisheries section and then click on Red River of the North, and that'll take you to the landing page that has those three kind of big banner components.
It's amazing how much work you guys have put into that web page and all the different features that you have on it. That is super cool. And that's a really good tip for the anglers as to whether or not the river level is steady, whether it's rising or falling, because that could help save them a quiet day on the water or give them a busy day on the water. So, Nick, I know you like to fish a lot, and I know you fish the red and the tribs a lot. How does a guy like you, a guy that knows so much about it, how do you fish this river or these tributaries?
Yeah, whether I'm going out on the Red or on the tribs, in either case, I'm reaching for the same setup 90% of the time for rod reel. I'm going to be using a glass rod, ugly stick or similar, about 7 foot, medium heavy. I'm going to have something of a bait caster on there. I like Abu Garcia's C3s, 6500 size. And then I'm spooling that with 30-pound mono. And that monofilament with the glass rod is going to be just a wonderful, wonderful shock absorber if I happen to tie into one of the trophy cats that, call this system home. But it's also going to be light enough that it allows me to target things like sauger, walleye, drum, smaller cats. So it's a really versatile rig, and it also pulls double duty when I'm trolling walleye cranks on the lakes. Now, when I'm setting this whole thing up, I'm predominantly using a no-roll bottom rig, using a 3-ounce sinker. And that 3-ounce sinker is really critical for me because when I'm casting that into the river, that's not going to hold in really strong current. So I use that 3-ounce sinker almost as its own little depth finder, because where that is first going to stick on the river bottom typically is going to be the first feeding seam that a lot of your bigger fish are going to utilize. So I just kind of cast out, let it drift down 90 degrees to my rod tip, and where it settles, I'm going to give that 5 to 10 minutes. And often as not, that is just right where it needs to be.
Nick, you have given some just incredible advice as far as approaching river fishing and especially these rivers we're talking about here today. You mentioned a few of the fish species that are common to catch. Does it go beyond that? Are there others that might be in that possibility of coming to shore when you set the hook out there on some of these tributaries?
Yeah, so And that's actually a really good point, and it gets to my hook selection as well. You're going to be looking at everything from the trophy channel cats that you would think of when you think Red River fishing, down to kind of your eater channel cat size. And, when I'm starting out fishing for the day, I'm going to be using something like a 6/0 circle hook because, I'm fishing predominantly cut bait, whether that's sucker, frogs, goldeye, you name it, just kind of whatever I have. And then if I start to feel a lot of ticks on that bigger hook, that's when I'm going to start thinking, okay, it's time to reel that in, cut off that big circle hook, switch to something like a number 2 or number 6 octopus hook, depending on how far up the tributary I am, I'm going to use a smaller hook. And, oftentimes those little ticks, that wasn't a small catfish. Turns out that was a sauger going after the cut bait. It was a walleye going after the cut bait. And that exact approach is, how my wife and I fish all over on all these tributaries. And, we come home with a real mixed bag. Now, funny enough, that's also a great way fishing on the bottom like that to run into a couple of our lake sturgeon. The
Hmm.
Catfish League guys up in Grand Forks, they come away with some awfully big fish fishing this same approach on the main stem. And, there's some guys in the tribs increasingly, especially Otter Tail, Red Lake River, that are running into the same sort of thing. But, by and large, it's going to be cats, walleyes, saugers. You'll catch drum. Some folks keep those. Uh, they can be delicious eating. It's just really a mixed bag.
So, Nick, is there a special time of year that for each species, I'm assuming, is that it's better in the tribs and the further up you go in the tribs might be better early in the spring, but later summer it might not be as good for walleyes or what's the difference between the different species?
Great question. If we're going for walleyes in the Red River Basin, on the main stem itself, give me the nastiest downpour of the summer in July and August, and I'm going to be out sitting on a current seam, essentially walking a jig up a point bar. And I've just had some incredible days doing that, big fish days. If I'm up in the tributaries, springtime after we kind of hit that 50-degree mark, those fish are going to be on the move. Once we get into the fall, starts kind of cooling down, we start to have frost overnight. Again, I'm up in the tributaries looking for walleyes, same sort of thing, pitching a jig tipped with a minnow. Uh, if I'm looking for channel cats, you know, just with the way my life times out, I typically am not lucky enough to get out and target them pre-spawn before the water hits 70 degrees, but that can be an incredible time of the year to be fishing down low in the tributaries. As the water heats up toward spawning temp, toward that 70-degree mark, those fish are going to start looking for their spawning cavities and things are going to get a little tough for a couple weeks there. Then spawns over, we hit actual summertime, then it kind of reverts to type. And you can catch channel cats up and down the tribs as well as in the main stem all summer long into the fall.
So if you don't have a boat or you don't have access to a boat or you don't want to load up your boat and drive it an hour to Detroit Lakes or wherever you go, we have some amazing, amazing fisheries, runs right through the entire Minnesota, North Dakota border. You can go out, you can go fishing. Depending on where you live, you can be on the water or next to the water in 10 or 15 minutes, almost any day of the week, and you can catch fish. Nick, if throw out that website one more time so that people can, if they're interested, they can check it out.
Yeah, so that's going to be the DNR's webpage, dnr.state.mn.us. Go to the Fisheries tab, and then under the rivers, you're going to see all the big rivers in the state. Click on that Red River of the North. It's going to take you to all those resources I was talking about. You could also just Google Minnesota DNR Red River Fishing, and it'll take you to roughly the same place.
Perfect. This is Nick Kludt. He is Minnesota DNR Red River Fisheries Specialist. Thank you for coming on Gone Outdoors and talking to us.
You bet. Have a great day out there. Please take your kids.
All right. Make sure you stick around because we're going to be back with some more great Gone Outdoor content after this short break. This is Scotty and Kyle. If you're in the market for a new fishing boat, you've got to check out Ray Sport Marine in Moorhead. They've got a huge lineup of Lund boats, all powered by Mercury outboards.
From chasing walleyes to pulling the kids on tubes and skis, there's a Lund built for every kind of adventure, with a Mercury on the back to power through it all.
Visit Ray Sport Marine in Moorhead, just north of Menards, or explore their full Lund and Mercury lineup anytime at raysportmarine.com.
Welcome back to the second half of this morning's Gone Outdoors. Kyle Agre and Scott Brewer of Brewer Agre Outdoors, talking hunting, talking fishing, and talking anything you can do outdoors right here on Kello News Talk and KWSN, both out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the mighty 790 KFGO Fargo. I am very excited, and hats off, Scott, to bringing this guest onto the show for today. We get to welcome Brad Maczkowicz. He is a high school fishing coach in the Lake Agassiz High School Fishing League. He actually coaches a couple of teams. He coaches the Sheyenne Mustangs and the Horace Hornets fishing team. He does a fantastic job with that. Brad, welcome to Gone Outdoors.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm excited to be on here.
You know, a week and a half ago, we had our kickoff meeting for Lake Agassiz, and we filled the Fargo South High Theater with parents, with student anglers, with boat captains and coaches. And you talked a lot about ethics on the water. And you know what? Here we are. We're in the midst of the Memorial Day holiday weekend, one of the busiest weekends that we're going to see, you know, probably second in line to maybe the 4th of July in that time frame in terms of people out on the water and on our boat ramps. And I want to be able to share a little bit of your message to all of our listeners as people are out there and maybe feeling a little bit impatient with others who may have less experience than they do.
That's the politically nicest way I've heard it phrased.
Well, it's true. And you know what? I'm gonna raise my hand up high because some days I can honestly say I've been the one who's frustrated, but some days I know in my life, I've been the one causing others frustration. So I think it applies to all of us.
It does. And it was funny when I probably got a little bit too passionate with the high school anglers, but teach them at a younger age, right? And I think that's important, that we can never forget to learn, because I had to take my own advice. And the story that I gave to the group was just how my fishing season opened. I fish on a popular body of water, Ottertail on Minnesota Opener, and there's a lot of boats out. No matter how bad the weather is, there's dedicated people out there. And it doesn't matter how well you're prepared, you're going to get frustrated. Whether it's at the boat landing, there's someone that might not be able to back a boat in as fast as you, or they might not know that they could tie it off on the other side of the dock, and so they block the lane. Or when you're out there fishing and you're on a pot of fish and they don't have forward facing sonar and they troll right in front of you, it's really hard to bite your lip and just enjoy the fact that you're out there fishing. And I see more and more people, I don't want to say they get into arguments, but they're ruining their day over somebody else that probably just doesn't know better. And we all got to learn to deal with that better.
Hey, Brad, you just kind of brought up a good point. Incidentally, I don't know if you know you did it, but when you talked about kids and then going to the adults having maybe a bad day and they're getting frustrated, I think it's especially important during those times that when there's kids around, especially if they're your kids or kids that are with you, that you make sure that you keep your cool, because kids learn from us. They learn from the things we do every single day.
Yeah, that's a great point, Scott. Think about some of the first words that our kids or grandkids said, and you hope your wife, you try to explain to her it wasn't you that they learned it from. It's similar, right, on the water. But I do think that we have to set examples, and there's a lot more opportunities for kids to be fishing tournaments and adults with all the different leagues, et cetera. And I think sometimes we let that competitiveness treat how we react to all of these situations. And I'm guilty of it. If I win $200 and I get all worked up about it and someone's in my spot or, oh my God, they're crowding me or, and you just got to sit back and say, this is still something fun that we get to do. And more than likely, unless you're out with the boys, on the river right now, trying to compete on the highest professional level, nobody out there is making their living on these local tournaments. And so we really need to look at taking the higher road whenever we can.
Brad, that is such great advice. I want to break it down here. We've got, about 4.5 minutes left in this segment before we have to take a break. I want to hear your thoughts at the boat ramp and your thoughts out on the water while we're fishing. What are maybe just one or two things that we can all do a little bit better to make this weekend and our future weekends here at the lake a little bit easier and less frustrating?
First of all, take a deep breath. And by the way, a lot of these things apply to hunting as well. Hunting on public land, hunting openers will experience some of these same things. Take a deep breath. If you go up to public land or public access and there's someone there that's struggling, you're not sure what they're going to do, talk to them. Ask them, can I help? Can I hold your boat for you? What can I do to help you? Can I back you in? Whatever it might be, help them. And if you're on the water and you're fishing on a pot of whatever, it's crappies or whatever, and someone's getting close to you, communicate. Don't use that language that we're not supposed to use. Just simply ask, hey, are you trolling over this way? There's a pot of fish over here casting. Maybe you want to throw on them, or try to communicate. So many times I have people on the lake where I fish that are next door neighbors to me. They don't know better. And just by simply talking to them and communicating, it makes for a way better experience on the water and also when I get back to landing. So I just think if you communicate, and if there is a bad situation happening, just take yourself out of it. Just remove yourself. There's no fish in the world that's worth getting your blood pressure high or ruining your day, or certainly leaving an impression on somebody else that you're going to regret later. Just be the bigger person, and there'll be quieter days on the water in the future.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And to just maybe even dig a little bit deeper, I think sometimes we're very, very averse to conflict, and we won't say anything until it's too late and we lose our temper. And sometimes those little simple things like you mentioned, just having that communication, having a few words with somebody in a kind way, it's going to make all the difference. And that in and of itself is what avoids anything getting worse or escalating.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And if you look on YouTube, you'll see videos where it's gotten out of control with landowners or short people on shore and fishermen. And none of us need that to promote our sport, right? We need more people having a good time on public lands and on waterways, and just promoting the privilege that we have to be out there enjoying the sport. We certainly don't need to, build up a bunch of angst over it.
Yeah. And I tell you what, one of the things that you have done as a coach is to really help within the Lake Agassiz League develop our sportsmanship award, one of these awards that goes to a member of each of the teams in our league at the coach's discretion, who isn't necessarily the best angler, but who exhibits this type of sportsmanship that you're talking about. And I think that's just a cool example of how to really promote that behavior. I want to give you a plug, Brad, right here, a chance to give a plug. If you or other coaches in the league would like to recruit any more boat captains, what is it you're looking for?
We're always looking for people that have the ability to take some kids fishing. And no matter what experience you have as an angler, if you consider yourself pretty senior and know what you're doing, or somebody that's kind of new to the sport, the whole idea is getting them in the boats. And I know a lot of schools are looking for captains. Number of anglers that we are going to have out there again. I think it'll be 300, probably 300 plus in some cases on a night. We need help. And I'll guarantee you, I am busy in my life, and I sometimes fret that I have to do this. And every night that I come home, I got more out of it than the kids did. You learn from helping them, and you learn from seeing them, and you get to kind of keep up with the times as to what's going on in teenage world these days. And it's a very rewarding experience to donate a few hours of your time.
Amen to that. We've got Brad Maczkowicz here, West Fargo, Sheyenne, and Horace high school fishing teams coach. Brad, thanks for taking a few minutes this morning to spend with us talking about ethics out on the water. We appreciate it.
Thanks, gentlemen. It's good to know that people look at the real value of the outdoors, and you guys bring it forward.
Folks, don't go away. We have to take a break right now, but we will be back. We've got more outdoor talk ahead of us after we return from the break.
At Acme Tackle, innovation meets results, from legendary cast masters to proven trolling and jigging baits that flat out catch fish.
When it's time to finesse, power, or fill the live well, reach for Kalen's Plastics. Lifelike action, proven colors, and the soft plastics that fish just don't let go of.
And tie it all together with Elliott fishing rods, lightweight, sensitive, and built for anglers who demand performance on every cast.
Acme Tackle, Kalen's Plastics, and Elliott fishing rods. Fish smarter, fish harder, and fish confident.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Gone Outdoor Radio. You're listening on Kello News Talk, or KWSN in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or KFGO, the mighty 790 in Fargo, Moorhead surrounding community. Scotty Brewer, Kyle Agre of Brewer Agre Outdoors. And on this segment, you know, Kyle, I get really excited any time we get this gentleman on. He is with the BASS Elite Series Tournament Angler, Bob Downey. So Bob fishes the top professional bass circuit in the country, and he's done it for quite a while. And generally, he's pretty successful because he usually gets to the Bassmaster Classic each year, which they only take, I think, is the top 50. Bob, how are you doing?
Good. Just got home from South Carolina a few days ago, so appreciate you guys having me on.
And when you say home, we should mention that for people that don't know, you are a hometown kid as far as we're concerned, because you live in Detroit Lakes area. So you are a local Western Minnesota guy. A lot of our listeners have probably seen you out on the lakes testing your skills here and there. So, Bob, you just said you just got back from South Carolina, and congratulations, because you had a top 10 finish last week on Santee Cooper Reservoir. And this is a place that you've struggled in the past years, but this year you did well. How hard is it to go into this tournament and stay mentally engaged during the entire tournament when you know that this lake kind of has your number, so to speak?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I've got a few of those, that throughout the years I've had troubles with. Santee Cooper is one, Lake Fork is another one. And, there's certainly can be a mental block there with some of those places before you even show up. So the one thing that was nice this year is the lake was down a little bit, about a half foot or a foot or so. And then there was a lot more vegetation too. So it kind of changed the whole dynamic of the place, and it almost fished a little differently. So that right off the bat kind of helped just to almost treat it like a different lake. But it's a mental battle, what we do on the road. And, it's the mental side is big, and it seems silly to say that. I mean, we're just fishing, right? But at that level, a lot of guys have similar skill sets in terms of your ability to cast and your ability to hook and land fish. And what really separates guys is that decision making when you're under the gun, you're under the clock, under changing conditions, and potentially a tough bite. So staying in it mentally is, in my opinion, what separates most of these guys from everybody else, for sure.
So, Bob, how important is confidence? I mean, do you go into every tournament thinking, I'm going to win this, or I got a shot at winning this? And if that's the case, if you have a bad first day, how do you continue to have that confidence going into the second day?
Yeah, confidence is huge. You see guys get on rolls in our sport where tournament after tournament they're doing well, and a lot of times it's momentum and confidence. Yeah, it's a huge deal. I would say when I first started it, I had to build that confidence for sure. It seemed like at every level that whenever I took the next step, whether it was high school to college or college to local regional events or regional events to the Bassmaster Opens and then the Elite Series, it always took me just a little bit to build that confidence. Some guys have it naturally and kind of come out of the gate hot, and they're just naturally talented and kind of have that confidence about them. But for me, it's always taken some time to build. And it's a really big deal. I think it helps you to just mentally not get so caught up in everything that's going on around those tournaments, whether it's stock talk or other guys talking about how they're catching them or not catching them. You kind of just stay in your own lane, try and ignore everything and just focus on the task at hand and do what you do best. And that's really, I think, when you're the most deadly as a tournament angler, is when you can just rely on your own instincts and not really worry about anything else that's going on.
You know, Bob, I absolutely love everything you've said because it applies to every single person who's listening to Gone Outdoors.
It applies in all walks of life, honestly. You kind of just put your head down, do your work hard, stay humble, and just do your best. And a lot of times if you do that, you will learn and you'll grow, and eventually you'll find success.
Being resilient is one of those key words that we hear a lot in the business world, right? And people dealing with stress, and a tournament scenario is certainly full of stress and those decisions you described. Do you have any specific things like tools, strategies, things that you do to be resilient and to be able to kind of let some of that stress shed off your back?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've learned over the last couple of years is just to kind of have no negative self-talk about yourself. Like if you're not catching them or you're not finding them, don't, look down upon yourself as any less than anybody else. Like you just got to kind of try and maintain that level-headedness from that standpoint. Go with what you're confident in and go with what got you there or what you're good at. And then also, like, throughout the day, if it's just not happening in the morning, let's say your first 2, 3, 4 stops, it's just not happening. You got to have the mindset that it's going to happen at some point. So you didn't catch them on spot 2, 3, 4. That should almost give you confidence that you're knocking those off the list and you're just getting closer to figuring it out. And so it's easier said than done for sure, but you just have to have that mindset that at some point, if you bounce around enough and you make enough adjustments, that you're going to come across what you need to by the end of the day. And now that doesn't mean it's always going to happen. But that's kind of the formula that I try and find and stick with, because more often than not, you will be presented with an opportunity at some point throughout the day. And if you're in a state of mind where you're negative, you're down about it, when that opportunity presents itself, it generally can be messed up easier than if you're in that focused state of mind where you're still keyed in, you're still locked in mentally, and you can take advantage of that big one when it bites.
That's perfect. Thank you, Bob. How can we follow along with you if we want to follow along for the rest of this season?
Yeah, social media on Instagram, it's Bob Downey with an underscore at the end. Facebook, Bob Downey Fishing, and then YouTube, I post tournament recaps of each event throughout the year at Bob Downey Fishing as well. So those 3 places I try and stay relatively active.
All right, Bud, thanks for coming on Gone Outdoors. We really appreciate it.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Special thanks to our Gone Outdoors show sponsors, Ray Sport Marine, Adventure RV, Devil's Lake Tourism, Valley Truck Gear, Strand Ace Hardware, the Outdoor Adventure Foundation, The Outdoorsman, and Onyx Fish Midwest. Thank you for tuning to today's Gone Outdoors. Follow along when you're on the water or in the field with Gone Outdoor Podcast. KFGO.com, KWSN.com, KELO.com, Apple Podcasts, or on Spotify. You can always find us at brewerandagreoutdoors.com and follow us on social media. Until next week, from Scotty and Kyle, we'll be Gone Outdoors.